crazy amount of years and crazy money for Max Fried? Yeah, but if you wanted him, that's the price you had to pay, and you got him.
You are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Yankees, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. I'm Stacey Gotsoulias. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. With me, as usual, my co-host, Brian McKeon. Brian.
Stacey, there's a new Yankee in town.
There's something happened. We were talking about it. There were rumors floating around, and it looked like it was going to happen, and it actually did. Before we get started, don't forget, subscribe to Locked On Yankees on whichever podcasting platform you prefer. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube. We passed 7960, inching ever so close to the elusive 8,000 subscriber mark that we wanted to reach by Christmas. We'll get there. We'll get there. So subscribe to the channel, like our videos, hit the bell so you're notified when our videos go live. And if they do actually go live, you can chat with us while we're doing the show. It's a lot of fun. So today's show, Max Fried. I mean, we're going to talk about the Yankees getting Max Fried. We're going to talk about some other stuff that happened during the winter meetings, including the draft order. And yeah, the Yankees first round of the draft, they're all the way at the end, but we'll talk about that in a bit. But first, let's talk about it. Max Fried for an insane contract by the Yankees.
Yeah, I mean, we told you this earlier today, earlier yesterday when we gave you the live show on Tuesday. It was funny when I mentioned that he was going to get over 200. You were like, no, Max Fried. And I was like, yeah. And then he signs for 218. All the rumors are this is a double fold kind of a signing for the Yankees because you not only got Max Fried, but you also kept him off the Boston Red Sox, who were really, really in on getting Max Fried, apparently. They offered him a 7-year deal for similar AAV, and the Yankees went to an 8th year, and that's what got the deal done, apparently. I do hear a lot of, let's axe this before we get into his numbers and how good he's been over the years. People are constantly saying, oh, well, he's 30 years old. He's going to be 31 by the start of the year, so he'll be 39 when this deal is over. How do you give a 31-year-old 8-year contract? It's going to be a bad deal by the 6th or 5th year of the deal? Yeah. And if you think the Yankees don't know that, you're out of your mind. They know it's going to be a bad deal.
They're in it to win
that. They're in it to win the World Series now. They're in it to win the World Series next year or the year after that. They're not in it to win the World Series in 5 or 6 years. If this contract is a dud in 5 or 6 years and they won 2 World Series in the next 5, they'll gladly take it. So, unfortunately, if you're going to get in bed in free agency and you're going to try and get in bed with all these guys and sign all these guys, you're going to sign bad contracts. That's just how baseball works nowadays. You have to come to terms with you're going to sign bad deals. They're not just all getting together and signing bad deals for the heck of it. You have to be aware that you're going to sign bad deals. That's how it works. And the only way to sign these guys is to give them bad deals for yourself. That's how it works nowadays. So is it crazy amount of years and crazy money for Max Fried? Yeah. But if you wanted him, that's the price you had to pay, and you got him.
Yep. So the agreement is pending a physical. Bob Nightingale reports that the deal comes with no deferred money, obviously, no opt-out clauses. Joel Sherman said that the deal also includes a full no trade clause, while also noting, as you said, the Red Sox were in on him, but so were the Rangers. They were the other finalists. Mm-hmm. And Fried is a CAA client, not.
Yeah, the Rangers pivoted and signed Eovaldi and brought him back to a 3-year, $75 million deal. So a little less than the AAV that Fried got, but it's only 3 years for Eovaldi. So that's another pitcher off the market. The lowest ERAs since the start of 2020, and with a minimum of 550 innings pitched of any starters, Max Fried. He has the lowest ERA in all of baseball since 2020, which is crazy. It's a 2.81 ERA. Behind him, just for the reference of the list, Corbin Burns with a 2.88 ERA, so you really couldn't have gotten wrong who you signed. Zach Wheeler, Max Scherzer, and then Garrett Cole with a 3.12 ERA. So 2 of those top 5 pitchers in baseball since 2020 have 2 of the top ERAs. So that's a pretty good sign for the Yankees. Those are probably right now. I don't know who's the top, Fried or Rodon at the top of the Yankees rotation. It's either or. I think in an ideal world, Rodon's your number 1, Cole's your number 2, and then Fried's your number 3, just because you can sandwich the righties and the lefties between each other. But Overall, is it an overpay? Probably, but that was the only way you were getting him. So I don't have a problem with the deal. And, they had to make a move. And they clearly think Fried's the better move over Burns, and I don't necessarily totally disagree with them either.
Yeah, I mean, they were talking to Fried before everything happened with Soto anyway. They had this in mind, and as we reported last week, Michael Kay had said that the first meeting went really well between the Yankees and Fried, and that they were looking to meet again. He is dating Rose Laval, who plays for the
He's
Gotham
dating Rose.
FC.
I didn't know Rose Lavelle had a boyfriend. That's
Yeah.
unfortunate to me. She lives in Hoboken. She plays for the U.S. women's team. She's
Yes.
fantastic.
Yeah, and she plays for
she's also
Gotham
my
FC.
celebrity crush.
Oh,
She's
well,
also my celebrity crush. So you just broke my heart.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I only just found this out. So he has a connection to the New York City area,
Clearly, yeah.
which kind of helps there a little bit. So last year he was 11-10 with a 3.25 ERA, 166 strikeouts in just over 174 innings. And interestingly enough, I found this funny. His WHIP in 2024 was 1164, which is also exactly his career WHIP.
Wow, that's weird.
Right? I thought that because I had to double check on BREF, and I'm going, oh, yeah, okay, that's right. Because how when you look at first, it says the career and the 2024 numbers, and I was looking at them, I'm like, is that right? And I went down to the stats, and sure enough, yeah, I thought that was interesting. He only made 14 starts in 2023 because that was like an injury plague season. He had a blister issue at the end of the year. He got hurt opening day. He hurt his hamstring. But in those 14 starts, he was 8-1 with a 2.55 ERA. So when he was pitching to the Braves, he was doing really well. It's just that was the one season where he, sandwiched between all-star campaigns in 2022 and 2024.
He doesn't go very deep into games. That's the one flaw in his game. But what pitcher really does nowadays, what starting pitcher does go deep into games? It's only a select few in the league right now. Since 2020, 2.81 ERA, 659 innings pitched, 624 strikeouts, so just a tad below a K per 9, 109 WHIP, and a 310 FIP. He's a two-time top 5 Cy Young Award finisher, so that's really good. He 3-time Gold Glove winner. He's a really good fielder, and he's a 2-time All-Star, again, sandwiched in between the year that he was actually hurt. He's been good, and he's a 2021 World Series champion. The only knock on his game is that he doesn't go deep into games, and he doesn't have great playoff numbers. In the year that the Braves won the World Series in 2021, he went 2-2 at about a 5 ERA. So
right,
it wasn't tremendous.
But he did pitch that big game against Houston in the World Series. So
yes, so he's got a good track record. And you can call it an overpay. That's totally fine. But this is the price that it costs to get guys.
Look at everyone else's contract so far. Everyone's being overpaid right now. It's just the way the market is.
Yeah,
it's just the way the market is.
It is so weird with baseball, though, how 1 year the market's crazy and guys get overpaid and money's flying around, and the next year no one gets paid.
Yeah,
it is so weird, and I can't I can't for the life of me comprehend how baseball works nowadays.
It's like baseball's going around with one of those money guns and just shooting it and giving it to people.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
But that's this year, and then next year no one will get their money.
Yeah.
Next year they'll play hardball with all the free agents, and they won't give money to anybody. I don't get it, but
yeah.
This was the right move. And clearly they chose Fried over Burns. I think this takes them out of the Corbin Burns sweepstakes. They're not going to be spending money on Burns. There's too many other holes to fill.
Yeah.
I will say this, though, with the Max Fried acquisition, I think this does mean the end of Marcus Stroman. And if you can find a suitor, find someone to take him, even if they have to eat some of the money, I think there's somebody out there that would take on Marcus Stroman.
Like eat 10 out of the 18 that
Something
he's owed.
like that. It's only one more year left on the deal, so they can afford certainly to keep it, to eat it off. There's just no room for him on the rotation now.
No, because let's discuss this quickly. So Cole, Rodon, Fried, Heel, Schmidt, Nestor, Stroman. That's basically the starters you have. You could possibly explore a trade involving Nestor. He's arbitration eligible. He made $3.95 million in 2024. Look, was his game one performance great? No, but he shouldn't have been pitching in that game. But I think there's more value to Nestor Cortez than there is to Marcus Stroman. But I also think that the Yankees might be able to put Nestor in a deal with maybe a prospect or two and get more in return for someone like Stroman?
Well, I think that's what it depends on too, because if they're actually in the market for a Kyle Tucker, which I don't believe, but if they are in the market for Kyle Tucker or for a top tier player that they're going to trade, possibly a Garrett Crochet, if that's a possibility, I don't think it's Stroman in the deal, and I don't think it's Nestor in the deal. I think it's Luis Heel. I think he's going to be one of the guys that has to get moved. And if it's for Garrett Crochet, you do it. And
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
maybe if it's to a team like Chicago or even Houston, that if part of that deal is trading Stroman and Heel, which
Heel.
they can afford right now, if that's part of the deal, but in return they're eating Stroman's contract with both, which both of those teams can afford to do, I think you have to do it.
Yeah.
I think Stroman is more the priority. It's $18 million. Nestor probably is going to land somewhere in the $8 to $7.5 million range next year after arbitration, which isn't crazy for a starting pitcher by any means. But $18 million for Marcus Stroman. Listen, Stacey, you get rid of Marcus Stroman and bring in Cody Bellinger, then Cody Bellinger's that's pretty much only counting at $10 million next year. So I mean, there is Stroman's the guy you got to move, I think.
Yeah. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button on our videos, hit the notifications so you know when our videos go up. You can also join the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club. The link is in the description. You'll get texts from us, text us questions, comments, reactions to trades and signings. Had some conversations with people about Fried earlier. We send out lineups during the season, roster moves, breaking news, any players who come up from the minors. You get it all, so you don't have to check social media. There's a 14-day free trial. So coming up next, any other rumors we've heard from the winter meetings, and we'll talk briefly about the draft, lottery, and the order.
Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, all available in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more, all available on the same page where you place your bets. Champions League and European soccer is on tomorrow. You guys can watch all of that, available throughout probably about once every 3 or 4 weeks. Champions League bets are available. You can bet the winners of all the soccer leagues out there. That's all available on FanDuel, plus all your other futures and all the other leagues out there. All you got to do is find those bets and visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's it. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel. It's an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thanks again for making Locked On Yankees your first listen. Remember that every Friday for us is Fan Mail Friday. You can leave questions underneath the pinned comment on our videos Monday through Thursday, or you can join the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club to get top priority during Fan Mail Friday. That link is in our description. So, Stacey, more of the rumors that are flying around the winter meetings as they go on. It is weird. You were saying on yesterday's show, which is awfully true, the amount of guys who just get deals done during the winter meetings is wild. And I wanted to bring this up, too, because I turned to MLB Network to watch on TV in the middle of the day just to kind of see what was going on. And they were interviewing during, I guess they have all these GMs come on during the day to try and see what they have to say and stuff like that. And they were interviewing Ben Cherington, who's the GM of the Pittsburgh Pirates. And I was thinking to myself, with all these teams in middle America that do nothing, right? You got all these teams doing different things throughout winter meetings, the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Red Sox, they're all sniffing through different deals and trying to make trades and building their teams for next year. And then what do they say to the GM of the Pirates? So you're gonna do nothing like you did last year? Yeah, okay. You gonna make any trades? No, sounds good. Any signings? No.
What about Skeens came up and looked really good.
That's it. Oh yeah, Skeens was great. So we'll see what he does next year. I mean, we're still gonna lose 120 games, but we'll see how it goes. How just briefly. I know we sound like spoiled rotten Yankee fans.
The Pirates did not lose that many games. They weren't that terrible.
They were still really bad. They're bad every year.
But
how do fans of these teams, I mean this wholeheartedly, I'm not trying to be a jerk. How do these fans root for these teams every single year? How do they do it?
Yeah, I don't understand. I asked this question because I can't imagine, and I don't remember I don't remember what it was like because I was a kid when the Yankees never made the playoffs. It was different. Like, it was just fun being at a baseball game.
Mhm.
It wasn't like I was staying up late and watching. Well, I mean, all right, I shouldn't say that. I watched playoff games with my dad, even though the Yankees weren't in it. But for me, it was just about the fun of being at a live baseball game and watching baseball because I wasn't used to winning. So it didn't bother me. And I don't know if that's how it is for some of these people because the Pirates haven't won a World Series in 45 years.
Yeah, and there's not even an intention to try and win another one.
Yeah, like you have the Pirates, you have the Reds, you have the Rockies. The most frustrating, and I've said this many times on this show, there is no excuse for the Chicago White Sox to be as bad as they are and to not spend money. The fact that Andrew Benintendi has the highest free agent contract in White Sox history,
And it was like $70 million.
it was like $75 million. Ludicrous, ridiculous, and embarrassing. It was embarrassing. That's embarrassing. You're the third market in the country. You're in Chicago. I know the Cubs aren't doing that much, but at least they try. They spend, they get people. What are the White Sox doing?
Yeah, Jerry Reinsdorf owns the Chicago Bulls also, who print money. So it's not like he doesn't have any money to spend either. He just doesn't care.
He doesn't care. Yeah.
Baseball has there isn't a single owner in the NFL who doesn't attempt to win, who doesn't want to win. They're all right up against the cap in the NFL. And then you have teams in baseball, like, you can't sit here and convince me that these teams are trying to win when the annual revenue they get back is like $150 million from the sport, and they only spent their payroll next year is like $60 million. They're not even attempting to win games. It's just that's my thing. It's like, what do you say to what does the Pirates GM say? Like, what? Oh, we're gonna call some kids up this year. We'll see how they perform. Like, he knows they have no intention of competing with any of these teams at the winter meetings. They don't have a prayer of signing anyone, let alone competing with anybody. They're not involved in a single rumor for a player, a single trade rumor. The only time they're ever involved in a trade rumor, Stacey, is when they have somebody that everybody wants. Like, they'll be involved in trade rumors in 5 years for Paul Skeens because everyone will want him. He'll be close to the end of his deal. That's when it'll happen. Like, they're never even in the news. I don't know how people root for those teams.
What's a worst existence, though? Knowing that your team's never going to make the playoffs and you just have 162 to worry about, or your team always making the playoffs but never winning a World Series because they just squeak into the playoffs, and you go through the heartbreak of getting into October and watching your team lose.
It's definitely the latter. It's definitely the first one. It's definitely going into every year knowing your team doesn't even care to win. Doesn't even make an. I don't. If you care and try and you just don't win, I could live with it more. What bothers me more is the not even attempting. Not like, not a great example, but I'll give it to you. The Minnesota Twins, who went 82-80 last year. They try. They sign guys. They give out big contracts. They make trades. They try to win. They never do.
And they were in the playoffs at one point until teams started leapfrogging them, and they fell off a cliff toward the end of the season.
Toronto had a bad year last year, but at least they almost lost 90 games. But at least Toronto is trying to spend money. They're trying to win. They're making acquisitions, right? All these teams that, Texas, who didn't have a great year last year, but they try every single year. They won a World Series 2 years ago. They're all attempting. I don't know how you root for a team like, again, Pittsburgh or Colorado. Like it doesn't even care. Or Colorado makes the one fringe signing every 5 years that you're like, where the heck did that come from? Like the Chris Bryant signing, where you're like, what was that?
And also, why are you doing that, Chris Bryant?
And then do nothing else though. They give out that big contract and then sign no one else that offseason.
Right.
I'll never understand. Baseball, to me, the NBA too, are the only two sports where you legitimately have teams that just don't care. That go into every year knowing they have no chance and don't even remotely try to care. It boggles my, why? This is why we should all go to the European soccer format and just have relegation. If you stink, you're out of the league. You work your way to coming back.
Yeah, or you're in a lower league, that's above the minors, but not quite the majors, quadruple A, but not really.
Someone asked me earlier, because I was on a show in Canada earlier, and we were talking about the structure in hockey, and he brought it up with baseball too, and he said, who has the best format in sports to, keep your league competitive and give every team a reason to try and win? And I told him straight up, I was like, I think it's European soccer. If you're not good, there's a penalty. You drop below a league, so you lose TV money, you lose sponsorship money, you lose all that kind of stuff. That there's a reason to finish 500 just to stay in the league, and no other team has that. But it would be really cool to see because you could theoretically do it in baseball, right? There are divisions out there, right? Like there are minor league divisions. Like, could you imagine if in a year where like their Cincinnati Reds are really bad, they were forced to move down to AAA and the top AAA team moved up? How cool would that be? It would never happen, but it would be awesome.
No, but it would light a fire under people's butts to actually do something to make their teams better, because
Well,
some of
that's the
these
point,
guys
right?
they're just coasting by. They're getting money from all the other stuff that they're getting money from, and they don't care. Like they don't
No.
care to try and make their team better, and that's sad for those fans. It's
Yeah,
sad.
because I mean, especially some of these teams that are perennially awful too. Now, some of them don't have great fan bases, but some of them have really good fan bases. Like, I mean, Cincinnati, those fans have been, though you got generations of Reds fans for like 140 years that have been rooting for that team, and they're just awful. And they're just, what are the Reds waiting for? Like, they're waiting for 3 or 4 years from now. We should ask our boss, but they're waiting for 3 or 4 years from now when they just trade Ellie De La Cruz, and then they're in the news because they traded him and they got a big package back, and then 3 out of the 5 prospects fail, and then 2 of them are kind of good, and then they trade those guys away, and then they just go back into this cycle again. That feels like what sports is waiting for. It's such a weird thing that we're in.
Yeah. In a second, let's just talk a little bit about, you had mentioned Nathan Eovaldi getting a contract, but I want to get into that more, and let's talk about the draft in a moment. I think it's interesting, Eovaldi's been around a really long time. He's, what is he, 35, and he got the 3-year deal, or he's going to be 35, right? He's up there. For relatively speaking, for a baseball player, he gets $75 million. He played himself into that contract. 2 seasons ago now, because, if you count 24, 23, in 23, the Rangers get Jacob deGrom. They have Nathan Eovaldi. They're feeling high, feeling great. Jacob deGrom gets hurt. Nathan Eovaldi steps up, becomes the ace of that team, helps them win a World Series. Incredible, after helping Boston win a World Series in 2018. And here he is at his ripe old age. I know it's so funny for someone who's 15 years older than him to say that he's old, but getting 3 years, $75 million. But that's the way this market is. You're going to see this entire winter. You're going to see guys where you think to yourself, he's getting that much for that long?
Yeah, he's gonna be 35. He's gonna be 35 years old on opening day, which is wild to think about. He's had a really productive career, and he's actually aged like wine, because he wasn't that great when he came into the league. And all of a sudden, over the last few years, you really noticed the turn with the Yankees when they brought him in. They really opened up his fastball a little bit. He wasn't tremendous, but then he went to Tampa. He had a stint there. He went to Boston. It was amazing. Won the World Series pretty much. I mean, that one game that he threw like 15 innings, it was incredible. He's been a really solid player, like really good pitcher, but that's what I would define him as. Mid-3s ERA, has a really good fastball, but not necessarily an ace of your staff, more like a 2 or a 3, a 2 when he's really pitching well, more like a 3 in normal times. And he got $25 million a year. The pitching market is outrageous right now. A lot of these guys, I'm sure, wish they were becoming free agents now as pitchers, because I'm intrigued to see what Burns gets, and I really think he's going to get over 250. I wonder who winds up signing him, because apparently the Mets are out on him. Apparently the Mets weren't in on Fried.
Yeah.
The Mets are not. Apparently their motto or their method, and Steve Cohen's method, probably having to do with being burned by contracts, is he does not want to give out long-term deals to pitchers. He's in the business of giving out short-term, very short-term deals to pitchers. So if that's their strategy, anytime a big name becomes available, they're just not going to be involved in the signing. It looks like.
Which is why they're involved, why they're named in the crochet stuff, because that's the way to get a player.
So, that's what's crazy about all this, and that's why they weren't involved in. I think Eovaldi would have been perfect for the Mets, and I think if they knew that if he was willing to leave Texas, they would have probably been all over that. He probably likes it there. He's probably, settled the family down there and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I will say, with this pitching market, I wonder what Corbin Burns gets. I wonder where he winds up, because I feel like that might be like a mystery team that's coming out of nowhere that we don't see coming. It could be Texas, because Texas every couple of years decides to spend money, and we could see them give out a big amount of money. It's just going to be very interesting where the market goes, because, I mean, you could imagine if Garrett Cole at his age became a free agent. I mean, what would he have gotten in a market like this?
Yeah. Have they linked any teams to Burns? Like, I know the Yankees have talked to him, but Anyone
Well,
else?
they're out.
No, I know they're out. I'm just saying we heard that he talked to the Yankees, but have we heard that he's talked to anyone else? Because I don't recall.
So far, the teams that are among the players for Burns that John Heyman has reported are the Yankees, Blue Jays, Red Sox, Orioles, and Giants. I
Makes
can't
sense.
imagine the Orioles not being involved. He's the guy that they just traded for last year. I can't imagine trading for a player like that and having new ownership that has money and then not giving him a contract to keep him there. It makes no sense to me.
Also, yes, let's discuss this briefly. What are the Orioles doing? What are they doing? I said this when it was with the Soto stuff. You should have been in on Juan Soto. You have new ownership, right? The new ownership wants to make the team, get away from their old ways. You still have a stacked farm system, so you can even trade for really good pieces, but you have the money to spend on these guys. And even if you don't get the top bidding, just at least put yourself out there. Because I saw some Orioles fans on social media being like, what are they doing? They're not doing anything. And this is the perfect opportunity for them to do it. Like, are they resting on the fact that people are predicting that they're going to be good this whole time? Because they're supposed to be good, but what keeps happening when they make the playoffs? They keep getting swept out of the wild card round because they can't do anything in the play. You got to fortify the team. You got to get it to be better. And you have the money to do that now. I don't understand what's happening with them.
So David Rubenstein purchased the Orioles last year. He worked for Bloomberg, but got a lot of success. He founded a private equity called the Carlyle Group years ago, which is currently worth $400 billion. And he himself is worth $4 billion. And not making moves for the ball, like getting them out of the what was the
Angelos?
family? The Angelos family, yeah. Getting out of the Angelos family was key for the Orioles, and for Orioles fans particularly, especially as you're starting to make this turn of bringing in these prospects and calling these guys up, and this turn of all this talent coming in.
Yep.
They were so classic for not giving out money. The biggest contract they ever gave out was the Chris Davis deal for years, and look how that one turned out.
Yeah, right. They were snake bitten in that. Yeah.
But to not give out these deals continuously and then finally be in a position where I get bad teams not being involved in these contracts, because why are the Chicago White Sox going to go give Juan Soto $700 million so they can keep losing? It doesn't make sense. I get that. What I don't get is when you have a team like the Orioles who are good, who have these guys involved in their team, and they're still not making the effort. I don't know why you would give up prospects and trade for Corbin Burns and then not re-sign him and not do everything imaginable to re-sign him. It makes no sense to me. And listen, because you didn't make the effort to sign him during the regular season, not that he would have because he's a Boris guy, but because you didn't sign him in the regular season, you haven't made any headway on signing him in the offseason. And now that Max Fried signed, and now that all the big pitchers are kind of coming off the market, now we'll see what the offer comes in from Toronto, who hasn't gotten anybody. We'll see what the offer looks like for Boston, who just got burned by Fried going to the Yankees. What does the offer look like for the San Francisco Giants, who have been dying to spend money over the last few years? The Giants have been looking for every excuse to spend money, really, since Aaron Judge was a free agent. So let's see what the Burns offer comes in at, because the Orioles could have backed themselves into a situation where they're not going to get him back because he's going to get bigger and bigger deals and they might be outpriced for him. So the Tyler O'Neill deal is a good move, but I like that move. I don't hate it, but a power hitter who hits for low average in a park that doesn't really support the home run hitter anymore is kind of not a confusing move. Also, bringing in an outfielder kind of means that you're going to let Santander walk, which is weird because he's been a great hitter for them over the last couple of years, and it feels like it's a fait accompli that they're going to let him walk. So I'm really confused with what their plan is this year. This is a team that 2 years ago won 100 games, and maybe that was ahead of schedule. But to just, they were with the Yankees, mano a mano all year last year until they fell apart, and the Yankees kind of took off without really taking off. And the Yankees went up winning the division by like 7 games. So to me, this is the perfect opportunity as a franchise to cash in and to go make some moves. And they're just sitting silent, and I don't understand it.
It's baffling. So the draft lottery happened, because there's now a draft lottery in baseball for the first, the first 5 or 6 positions, I think. And then everything falls. So it's the Nats up at number 1, Angels 2, Mariners 3, Rockies 4, Cardinals 5.
Yeah, so the lottery is different than in other sports. In the baseball lottery, I believe everybody has a ball in the lottery for a chance. Even teams that made the playoffs, which is crazy because in other sports you have to miss the playoffs to be involved in the lottery. Or baseball, I believe you get in, but you have a very small amount. I believe the Yankees and the Dodgers have like one ball in the lottery to actually come out. Teams that wound up getting benefits off this, the Angels weren't the worst team in the league. They got up there. The Mariners getting in there is really key to get the 3rd overall pick. And then teams that got screwed, the Diamondbacks, the Cubs are late in this draft. The Royals, who, were good, but not great. The Tigers, who got hot late, wound up getting a worse draft pick. It really is hard to...
But that's playoff. Those are all the playoff teams.
Yeah.
From that.
It is. My point is, it is hard to analyze this stuff, though, because it's not like other sports where we know the prospects that are coming out, where we know who's going to be available. We know who's going to try and move in the draft. It's not the same thing. So we'll see who the Yankees draft. We'll certainly talk about it. We'll certainly, inform you guys on who the guy is that they wind up picking up, but they're the last pick in the first round. We'll see what it winds up being, who they wind up picking. But a lot of these guys, don't expect them to be in the major leagues for another, 3 to 5 years.
I just think it's interesting that the team that lost 121 games wasn't allowed to be higher than 10.
Crazy. I mean, it's just...
And the Athletics were also capped out at 11. They weren't able to go higher than that either. So
if you take, whoever you take at 10th overall, there's like no guarantee that guy becomes a stud or anything. They're just in a much
there's
turmoil.
Also the flip side where you never know. You could get someone in like a later round who becomes like a Mike Piazza. So
yeah, Max Fried, by the way, went 7th overall in the 2012 draft to the Padres.
Yeah.
So
crazy. I saw a video of them, him and Cole. They had a conversation during the 22 All-Star game, and Max Fried had asked, I think they asked Max Fried how many home runs he's hit, and he hasn't hit one. And Cole kind of like joked about, oh, that's too bad. But he said that he had a walk-off hit at one point. Not a home run, but a walk-off hit. And Cole was like, oh, man, okay, that's cool. And then Fried said, how many home runs have you had? And Cole said, I've had 3. And Fried was so impressed. And he asked him if he did anything around the bases. And he's like, no. He's like,
did Cole really hit 3 home runs?
Yeah, apparently.
With the Pirates, I guess, when there wasn't a DH.
Wow, well, yeah, and he was talking about that. He said, he doesn't miss having to bat because he said, one, if you do get on base and you're stuck out there and then you have to go back in the dugout and come right back out to pitch, or he said, if you were not very efficient with your pitches and it's the 5th inning and you're about to bat and you think there's going to be a double switch because they're going to take you out. He said that wasn't fun either. And I thought that was really funny because you know how analytical and dorky Garrett Cole is. And I love him. He's our adorkable ace.
Yeah, still is the ace. But,
one quick thing I want to mention, because people keep talking about the Fried thing and, he's going to be old and he's going to be this. Do people forget, 1, he's a lefty, right? 2, the Yankees have Andy Pettitte at their disposal, right? Andy Pettitte, who pitched until he was 41 and pitched pretty well until he was 41. If he can work with someone like Fried, who doesn't, he's not a strikeout guy because we read the stats before, 166 in 174 and 1/3 innings. He's not one of those guys who's going to get like 250 strikeouts compared to 175 innings. I think he could become one of those crafty lefties when he gets older. And if you have someone like Andy Pettitte who could show him some things, why are you worried? I'm not worried. Don't be worried.
Andy Pettitte was 11-11 with a 3.74 ERA when he was 41 years old in 2013, and he pitched 185 innings.
And he pitched a complete game in his last ever start against Houston.
Remarkable. Yeah, and if there's anyone who knows how to teach these guys about pitching when you're old, it's Andy Pettitte. I think it's, I don't think the Yankees expect anything out of Max Fried in the last couple of years of this deal. I don't think anyone really does.
Right.
But you sign these contracts knowing that.
Right.
If you think the Yankees haven't thought of that, you're out of your mind. Of course they've thought of that. They know they're not going to get anything out of Max Fried. The point isn't to get anything out of Max Fried late in that deal. It's to get things out of him. You're paying that entire deal to get things out of Max Fried in the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yep. That's what it is with all these big contracts, except for Juan Soto, because, he's only going to be, at the end of his contract, he'll be 41. It's a 15-year deal. So
crazy.
I'm going to be retirement age when his contract is, well, if retirement age is still 65, because who knows, it might be raised by the time I get to it and I might have to work till I'm 80. But right now, Juan Soto's current contract will end when I am at retirement age and I get my pension from NBC.
Wow. So
I'm going to be getting money too, Juan Soto.
Yeah, it's very, and believe it or not, it's very similar to the Juan Soto deal too.
Yep.
Very similar.
Yep. Hey, thank God I'm going to get a pension. Thank God I worked there long enough for me to actually get a pension from GE and NBC. So thank you.
How far off is it from $51 million a year?
A lot.
Who's making more, Juan Soto from breakfast to lunchtime, or you and your entire pension for the year?
Oh, him from breakfast to lunchtime. Totally. Definitely.
Remember, guys, $5,000, about $5,500 an hour for the next 15 years.
That's insane.
That's not insane. Bad. Not bad money if you can get it.
On that note, thank you for making Locked On Yankees your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On MLB. Baseball guru Sully brings you a daily blend of humor and baseball, keeping you updated on every rumor and story throughout the offseason. Find Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. So that'll do it for this edition of Locked On Yankees. I'm Stacey Gotsoulias.
And I'm Brian McKeon. We'll catch you tomorrow.